Hi. It's been a little more than 2 years since I made a video about whether all Wikipedia links lead to the philosophy entry. In this video, I'd like to do a follow-up on that by taking a look at the pages that some commenters have pointed out lead to loops, where we don't arrive at philosophy, we end up in a self-referential loop between Wikipedia pages. I'm grateful to the commenters for this. I should also point out at the beginning that I don't edit Wikipedia. I don't have an account there, so I'm just an observer from outside. I'll leave it up to the mods on Wikipedia and the community there to decide how to write their encyclopedia and how to link the entries together. I'm just making observations. So let's take a look at the Wikipedia screen, and here I am. Let's begin with the first one. This was pointed out to me by most recently by Johanna Carlotto and previously by Kanishak Singh, thanks to both of you, that there's a link, a loop between fact and truth. Here's the page for fact. A fact is something that is true, and true is highlighted. This takes us to the page for truth, which begins, truth is the property of being in accord with fact or reality. Of course, this takes us right back to fact. I will say that it looks to me a little bit like bad form to define truth as being, fact as being truth, and truth as being in accord with fact. Accord with reality, I understand, but in accord with fact looks a little bit circular. On the other hand, this is Wikipedia. This is not a systematic series of definitions to be used for some academic purpose. So what I think is bad form, certainly not obligatory for anybody editing Wikipedia. I did take a look at the page history for fact and for truth, and I found some interesting things. As we looked for fact, if we scroll down here, we get back to October of 2021 when somebody made an entry that inserted this first line. We'll take a look at that. Somebody made an edit. It looks like prior to October of 2021, we were told that a fact is an occurrence in the real world, and this was changed to be something that is true by an editor, and that's that's fine. There's some justification down here. Like I said, I'm not engaging in editing wars with anyone here on Wikipedia. Let's go back to the fact page. Something similar we find when we go to the truth revision history. In fact, we find that this has been, the entry has been partially locked for persistent disruptive editing. But if we go back to, let's see, where is this? It looks like somebody back in December of 2021 was making an argument that the property of being in accord with fact or reality, trying to change it to being in accord with reality, removing fact, and another editor has said, I removed fact because it's redundant. Another entry here, another editor says that it is not redundant in this case. Not exactly redundant, I say, and looks just like a the Get to Philosophy game. Like I said, I'll leave that up to the Wikipedia mods to decide for themselves how to handle this. It does seem to me that if one wanted to avoid the loop, one would simply swap the order of the terms reality or fact, or remove the term fact entirely, but that's up to the editors. The second loop that somebody found, I owe the next two of these to Danube Ball Productions, thanks very much. The first is a loop between mathematics and arithmetic. Let's take a look at that. Mathematics, we're told, is an area of knowledge which includes the study of such topics as numbers, including arithmetic and number theory. Arithmetic, then, is a branch of mathematics. And that brings us back in a loop. It looks to me like we could potentially avoid this if we highlighted, if the word knowledge linked to the knowledge page. That seems to me that would likely take us to the philosophy page. Or we could skip parenthetical links like this, since this is mainly meant to give us a subfield of mathematics, a type of mathematics. If we were to do that, modify our rule a little bit, the first entry here, the first link here looks like it would be epistemological status, which would then take us almost directly to philosophy. Incidentally, If we go to the history page for the mathematics, the revision history, we scroll down a bit and find that in late January there was a bit of a discussion among the mods about whether this page should begin with a definition, a concrete and specific definition, and it looks like the verdict from one of the other mods was that the consensus is that there is no consensus, as reflected in the last paragraph of the entry. Go back there, that says, there is no general consensus about the exact scope or epistemological status of mathematics, which may explain why it ends up going in a loop without a clear genus. The other entry that Danube Ball Productions, the other loop that Danube Ball Productions brought my attention to deals with United States. We have a 3-entry loop here. United States of America is a country. When you click primarily located, this takes you to the page for contiguous United States, the lower 48, which then links to U.S. states. And the first entry on the first link on U.S. states is U.S. state is United States itself. And so we're back into the loop. It does look to me like one way that this might be avoided, if one wanted to avoid it, would be to rewrite the grammar of this sentence and put this clause later on in the sentence. A state is a constituent political entity of such countries as the United States, in which case constituent would take us to federated state, which would take us to province, assuming that we're not staying outside of parentheses here. Province, administrative division, sovereign state, political entity, click, polity, political, click. Politics is a method of rulership, click. Sovereignty, first link here is substantive. Here we've come to the middle of a page. I'm just going to announce the rule here that I scroll up to the beginning of the page instead of the subsection. Noun is a word. In linguistics, human language, communication, self, consciousness, sentience, feelings, emotions, mental states, mental state, mind, phenomena. It's interesting that doesn't link to fact, and philosophical and philosophy here. So that looks like the way that we would get out of this if we ended up to federative state, if we were hoping to avoid that link. Fourth one that I have pointed out by Assault is tram. The entry for tram, a tram, also known as a streetcar or trolley, is a train that runs on a tramway track. Tramway track is used on tramways, and so we have a loop here. I would suppose that this loop might be avoided if the word train were to link to a Wikipedia page for train. Then the last one that I'll look at today, Brad Heff pointed out that Donald Trump breaks this link, one of a kind, I suppose. Donald John Trump is an American politician. If we click politician, it doesn't take us to the Wikipedia page for politician to tell us what a politician is. It takes us to a page about the political career of Mr. Trump, which then takes us back to the page for the man himself. This is interesting. This is a different use of Wikipedia links from what I've seen before, which is to give more general definitions, a genus of the thing being discussed. Instead here, this takes us to more specific pages, a specific subset of information about Mr. Trump, about his political career. This then takes us to his media career, his business career, etc. I don't really see any way to avoid this link. It's just that the editors have chosen to write this page in such a way that doesn't begin by placing its subject in a more general context. So those are 5 loops that my commenters have pointed out. I'm grateful for that. Another commenter pointed out that there is a loop between human sexual activity and human sexuality. I'm just going to take your word for it. I'm not going to explore that. Don't tell me how you found it out. I thought, as a way of closing off the video here, I would just take a look at a couple of random pages. Maybe we'll start with today's page, Boat Race 2021. Let's see if this leads to philosophy. Boat Race 2021 was an event comprising 2 side-by-side rowing races. Okay, here again we're in the middle of a page, so I'm going to scroll up to the top. Rowing, sometimes called crew in the United States. American English, varieties, sociolinguistics, society, group, social sciences, we are getting more general here, branch of science, sciences, builds, scientific method, empirical evidence, proposition, logic, getting close to philosophy here, reason, consciousness, sentience, emotion, we've been here before, mental state, mind, phenomena, and philosophy. Okay, so let's try a random page before we wrap up. James Parker, rugby league footballer. Okay, rugby league is a full contact sport. Contact sports are sports. Sport pertains to a form of competitive. Competition is a rivalry. Rivalry is a state of 2 groups. Groups in the social sciences. And this we know from the previous path that this will take us to philosophy. One more. Christian Sarno, a member of the Wisconsin State Assembly. God bless him. Lower house, one of 2 chambers. A debate chamber is a room for people to discuss and debate. Debate is a process that involves a moderator. Discussion moderator. Well, there's no links in that entire first paragraph, are there? Academic conferences, which is an event, a convention. Wait a minute. That's funny. Event leads to the page, not for event, but for convention. Okay. Convention, industry, macroeconomics, economics, social science, branch of science. Okay. We know here that this will lead us then back to what we were looking at before. So that's the end of this follow-up video. I appreciate the comments people are leaving. If you find any more links or find any more loops among Wikipedia links, please let me know. Like I said, I'm not interested in editing Wikipedia or asking any of you to edit it. I'm simply observing the different patterns that come out as people edit Wikipedia as they see fit. So that's all for right now. Thanks for watching today. Goodbye.